think I've done it. I think I found my summer album. On July 10th, 2020, New Zealand indie band The Beths released their second studio album, Jump Rope Gazers. And here's what I thought. So The Beths, they're from New Zealand. They're like a punk alternative indie rock band, but with like power pop melodies. The Beths are led by vocalist and guitarist Elizabeth Stokes, who I believe writes the majority of the songs. I first heard about The Beths on an Instagram post that was posted, I believe, by Pup, the Canadian punk band. I think they were at a live Beths show and they made a comment saying that, you know, their last album, Future Me Hates Me, was on heavy rotation when they were on tour. And I enjoyed what I heard on the 15-second Instagram clip, so I decided to Spotify them and whoa. And what I heard was a perfect mix of angsty pop punk with some indie flares and pretty honest songwriting. Every song on that album was a banger, and the momentum stayed throughout the whole album, just supplying good times. And their harmonies are so tight! If you're a fan of pop punk at all, this band breathes new life into the genre. The guitar and instrumentation, it's just, everything is so tight! It was like discovering an edgier and angstier, like, Best Coast, but from New Zealand. I saw them last summer in Toronto at the Horseshoe Tavern, and I gotta say, it was probably one of my favorite shows of last year. But fast forward to today, and now we have a brand new album to listen, so let's listen together. And by together, I mean I've already listened to it, and now I'm gonna talk about every track one by one. Here we go. Track 1, Not Getting Excited. The song starts off with some downstroking guitar and Liz's vocals right up front. It really grabs you at the start of this album. The guitar and drum work are so tight and precise on this track, they really nail every single like hit and break that happens throughout this whole song. The sick shredding guitar solo that also emphasizes those breaks, it really is like a powerful punch of an opening track. The lyrics are about, well, not getting excited about much. Not looking forward to waking up, you know, having to fake smiles and even wondering what's life beyond death. Super cheerful stuff. But seriously, I did not even notice on my first listen because the tune itself is pretty, like, just kind of cheerful and in your face. Track 2, Dying to Believe. Another tune very powerful melodically. The guitar has some nice flares in the verses. Again, the song is a pretty straightforward indie rock tune. I like the addition of the subway announcement, like right around the bridge of the song. And the harmonies in the bridge are tight. The bridge is probably my favorite part. The bass line really keeps the momentum going of the song, and then they all kind of offload into like a rehashed kind of verse for verse 3, and then they really just end off the song powerfully. Musically, it's a lot of fun. Lyrically, Liz is talking to someone, or maybe even a part of herself that she doesn't want to believe could be killing her, you know? She doesn't want to believe that maybe a part of her might be the death of her. Not literally, but like, I mean, like, you know, she wants to break out of certain patterns. It's like there's part of her that's holding her back. Or maybe she's talking about a person that's holding her back. Track 3, Jump Rope Gazers. This is the title track, okay. Now, having really only listened to like their first album, this is one of the more slower tracks I've heard from the band thus far. It has a sound that kind of reminds me of like 90s indie rock. I guess just indies rock. I don't know. It kind of has like an Always kind of vibe. Even like a Snail Mail a little bit. Even some elements of the vocal performance are kind of reminiscent of like early Clairo. At first I wasn't too sure if I was a fan of the slower pace, but after repeated listens to this track in particular, I gotta say it's pretty infectious. I was washing dishes singing the chorus to myself. And again, the harmonies in the bridge are tight. It's a love song, or maybe like a kind of like a breakup song, you know, reminiscing on when things were perfect. I mean,
how could it happen? We were jump rope gazers.
Track 4, Acrid? Acrid, it's like acid, maybe acrid? I have never heard that word. Adjective, having a irritably strong and unpleasant taste or smell. The more you know. The song starts off pretty similarly to Not Getting Excited, the first track, in regards to just the downstroke guitar playing and Liz's vocals up front before the whole band comes in the second verse. But the song didn't quite grab me the same way the first track did. It's less intense and more feel-good. I mean, especially in the chorus.
But it's you.
Upon reading the lyrics, I'd assume that the song is again about maybe a past relationship, hoping that Liz would run into this certain someone. There's a little bit of experimentation in this track, especially with some guitar tones. The lead guitar kind of has some distorted, gritty, almost like modulating kind of sound effects to it. Sound effects, is that how you describe a guitar? Track 5, Do You Want Me Now? Another slower jam. This is like the second slower song in the first half of the album. Something that the last album did not really have much of. Another sort of breakup song. Liz is wondering if the person she's talking to loves her as much as she might love them. She needs to know. Again, this has kind of like an Always kind of vibe to it. It's honest, pretty stripped back compared to some of the production on the earlier tracks. I do like the subtle organ deep in the background of the choruses. Track 6, Out of Sight. The drumming work really shines on this track. Like, it makes me want to learn drums. Again, this song is kind of shying away from the angst that filled the first album so much. It's more retrospective. I feel like a lot of lyrics on this album so far are kind of working out relationships either with one other person or within themselves, you know? Still honest and relatable. It's just an observation I've, kind of seen comparing the two albums so far. The song really builds to a nice crescendo at the end of the track, but otherwise it's a pretty chill song. Track 7, Don't Go Away. The distortion is back, and because there's feedback in the first few seconds of the track. It kind of reminds me of like a Weezer track, and I mean that in a good way, in the sense that it's, playful and catchy.
Don't go away again. I just want to be your best friend.
But also there's like a breakdown that kind of happens near like the last third of the track. Totally melted my brain. You think the song's almost done, but then everything comes back in like halftime, so rock and so raw. The drums are going wild and the guitars are just riffing in the background. And then the song all comes together and finishes strong with a nice sing-songy ending. Track 8, Mars, the God of War. Riff-driven guitar continues the pop-punk vibe, and man, when they hone in on the certain kind of sound, their choruses are consistently catchy and fun. Lyrically, she's comparing someone to Mars, the God of War, and she's not a fan. She's upset. She's fed up. But the chorus is so catchy, you might kind of miss that on your first listen, maybe? At least I did. She wants to tell this person off, but she keeps hitting backspace on all the mean things she wants to say. She doesn't have it in her to be mean, Just not now, anyway. But yeah, super fun track. Track 9, You Are a Beam of Light. It's a slower tune. It almost has like a folky kind of sound to it. There's almost hints of like Phoebe Bridgers a little bit in there too. The song's a little bit more bare bones. There's some piano that sneaks in the second half of the song. But I'm just not a massive fan of the slower jams on this thing. It's nice, but it doesn't entertain me the same way the more upbeat songs do. I will say though, when all the vocals come in to sing that last word of the chorus, they build like this really cool vocal harmony chord, and it's they're harmonies. That's all I have to say. They're good at their harmonies. Track 10, Just Shy of Sure. Say that 10 times. Just shy of sure. Just shy of sure. Just shy of sure. Just shy. Just sigh. It's nice. It's a full-bodied kind of sound, but it's definitely more like indie pop than I'd say like angst in it. It's hot in my apartment. I can't string together sentences. If anyone has an extra AC unit, let me know. It's another love tune, trying to figure out your feels towards someone. You know that part in the relationship where you're kind of confused and you're trying to figure out your own feelings, but also trying to figure out their feelings, and you're just feeling a bunch of feelings. That's what I get from this tune. And yeah, that's basically the album. It's a really solid listen. But I think my biggest takeaway is that I definitely prefer the more upbeat songs than the slower jams. They almost felt like a little bit of a lull in the track list and kind of made the album feel inconsistent to me personally on my first listen. But I will say, when this band is on, they are on. Like when they're on, they're so catchy and their harmonies are always so good and the musicianship is just so tight. Like I can't praise it enough. This album has less angst than the first album, but the songwriting is still very genuine and honest. Liz has grown in her songwriting abilities. I feel like this album is a lot more heartfelt and retrospective than a lot of things on Future Me Hates Me. But with all that being said, there are a lot of great moments on this album, and I'd probably give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. But if you like harmonies, solid pop punk, and fun guitar riffs, you should definitely listen to this band. You will find something that you love. But what do you think? Do you like the same things I like? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, throw a like, throw a subscribe, however you can throw a subscribe, and give me a reason to keep doing these. I'm not gonna beg. So until next time,